I couldn't throw any punches yesterday. Yeah, I got to be honest. By the time I was post-game show yesterday, I was a little tired. Not going to lie. I was a little tired. But this morning, I'm fresh. I'm ready to go. You guys see the steam coming up from the coffee here. So we're all ready to go. And I'm back in studios. Yeah, listen, I'm back, guys. I'm back. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hopefully everybody's having a very, very nice Friday, December 20th. Today's a shoot the shit day. Okay? But I got to be honest with everybody. Now, it's a little bit different when you're doing your own thing. You don't work for a company. Because everybody's going to start taking, holiday after today. In my head, I'm like, yeah, I don't really make any money if I do that. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be working here over the next couple of weeks. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I just want to warn everybody. I was about to start the show. There's a dog at the other office that's next to me. Her name is Brody. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. She may just pound at the door because that's kind of what she does. And I have treats in here. So if Brody wants treats, then I got to pause the show here for a second because Brody's got to eat. I already got her treats, and she came at literally 7:59. So it's kind of her world. I'm just living in it. Every time, I cross paths with Rookie. Rookie's like, "What the hell? Were you with another dog?" All right, we'll let that be. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Cheers to you. Hope you guys are enjoying your Friday. Obviously, a lot of people are going to be taking off here the next couple of weeks. I'll still be throwing up some content here, so don't worry about that. Quote of the day today: live by your inner knowledge and strength. Live by your inner knowledge and strength. I like that one. Sometimes, we got tough decisions to make in life. You gotta look inward. What's it feel like inward? There's going to be a lot of really good sports topics for today as well. I'm going to try to get into some of your comments as we get through the morning. And let me just give you guys a quick preview of the show. So here's what we're doing today. 2 solid wins for the Lakers. Where the hell did that just come from? I think we're all kind of sitting here telling ourselves, all right, yeah, it's the Lakers. They got some issues. There's a lot of holes in their roster. What's Rob Pelinka going to do? We all been kind of saying that here now for the last couple of weeks, maybe the last month or so, and out of nowhere. Just 2 good wins for the Lakers. I do want to talk about the win against Memphis, but specifically the win against the Sacramento Kings that the Lakers had last night on the road. We all know that it's not like the Lakers are a great road team, so we'll spend a little bit of time on that. I put out a video. This one was kind of interesting to me. I put out a video yesterday. This was an exclusive video with Magic, who was on Speak yesterday on Fox Sports. And, man, I guess I just didn't realize how many negative comments were going towards Magic. I spent a little time talking about how Laker fans view and how they feel about Magic Johnson. So we're going to do a little bit of that today as well. Bobby Portis of the Milwaukee Bucks. Did he just take a shot at the Lakers? I think Bobby Portis just took a shot at the Lakers. I might be a day late on that one. But I saw it this morning, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. A lot of NBA news, kind of some interesting stuff. Yesterday, the Boston Celtics, Chicago Bulls broke a record for how many three-point attempts in a game. They tied a record for 3-point misses in a game, so we'll spend some time on that. Did you guys see the Warriors were down 57 yesterday against Memphis? Couple MLB updates, weekend preview that is actually a badass sports weekend. And then we're going to call it a weekend ourselves. Lakers got a game coming up tomorrow again in Sacramento. Cheers to you all. Thank you for being a part of the show. Let's get this bad boy started. I just want to point out a couple people here. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. Happy Friday. Solid win last night. Could I give you guys a little bit of credit here? Cheers real quick. I'll give you guys a little bit of credit. Let's just say typically chats might not be the healthiest, okay? Some of these chats here. Every time I look at our chats, I actually feel like it's a pretty damn good environment. And that's exactly what I'm trying to build on the channel. One of the things that's important for me, first off, I want anybody to come on the channel. I don't care, what your allegiances are, who you root for, any of that stuff. Anybody and everybody's invited. But it's actually, I think, a healthy chat. I like that. So I appreciate you guys, doing what you can when you're on the chats and whenever you're on here. contributing in some shape, way, or form. So definitely appreciate that. All right, let's get the show started. 2 solid wins for the Lakers. All right, somebody here, we love you, man. I love you too, man. I love you too. No, actually, if I'd be completely honest, I think it kind of gives me a little bit of respect to the channel. You know what I mean? Respect in the sense that I think you guys respect me. So then I think you guys respect the chat and everybody that's on here. So that means a lot to me. And I've never really said that before, but I notice it all the time. So I'll let you guys kind of police yourselves on that stuff, but I do appreciate it. All right, so 2 solid wins for the Lakers. Listen, I'm not going to overreact and, tell everybody that's it. Lakers are going to the Western Conference Finals. This is the best team in the league. Boston's going to get demolished by the Lakers in a 7-game set. I'm not going to do that. Obviously, that would be idiotic too. But I will tell you this, and I do mean this. These last 2 wins kind of came out of nowhere for me. Okay, for me, these last 2 wins came out of nowhere. There's been a lot of negativity around the Lakers, the way the Lakers have been playing. We watch this team on a night in, night out basis. Some really disturbing losses that they had over a stretch. We know their record. They went 3-8 over an 11-game stretch, and their 3 wins were against shitty teams. They weren't good teams. Utah, Portland was in there. I think the only quality win that they had was against San Antonio, but again, that's not a team that's going to be competing for a championship. And then out of nowhere, the Lakers play really, really good against the Memphis Grizzlies, and then really, really good against the Sacramento Kings last night. These 2 games came out of nowhere for me. And I will tell you, I think there's a little bit of a theme of what's happened, at least over a few stretch of games here, okay? I saw something, a stat yesterday on Spectrum when I was doing my post-game show. I saw a stat about 101 points per game is what they've given up over their last 4 games. Lakers don't play perfect basketball. There's a lot of times I'm like, I don't know what the hell they're doing on offense. There's a lot of times where, too many turnovers, things along those lines. But let me tell you what I can't complain about over these last 2 games, what I can't bitch about over these last 2 games. And I think Laker fans would agree with me on this. Aren't they just playing tougher basketball? Doesn't it just feel like, hey, there's at least great defensive effort, and whatever the hell happens, happens. But I don't think over these last couple of games, there's a Laker fan out there that can say, and I know, listen, this should not be your bar and your standard. When you go to work every single day, the least you should be able to do is give effort. And then whatever happens from there, happens from there. But one thing that I can't complain about in these last 2 W's for the Lakers and these last 2 wins for the Lakers, there is no, hey, the guys aren't trying. There is no, hey, the effort's not there. There is no, the guys are just trying to get their own shots and they don't give a rat's ass about the defensive side. That part hasn't happened. And I do understand that should be a given every single night, but this has been a very puzzling team because I think you've gone through stretches so far this year where you are scratching your head and you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, did JJ already lose the locker room? The guy's been a head coach for 35 minutes. He hasn't already lost the locker room yet, has he? I think these last 2 games, how well they've played defensively is very, very refreshing if you're a Laker fan. Because at the end of the day, and I started my post-game show last night, and I was, pointing out some things. But listening to JJ, listen to LeBron, JJ specifically, Redick had said something to the effect of, you're going to miss shots in the league. That's going to happen all the time. Even the best teams out there in the league, the Boston Celtics shot 25% from 3 last night. They lost against Chicago. You can't depend just on your offense. Lakers are not, this unbelievable offensive team where they're going to put up 130 a night. And I would tell you, if that's their strategy to win, I'm not a fan of that. And I don't want to see that. But I do think where you can be in games every single night, you got to play defense. You got to get stops. They did a fantastic job against Ja Morant a couple nights ago. They did a great job last night on De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray. Domantas Sabonis was the only one that shot over 50%. Everybody, Malik Monk, I said Monk. I said him again like I DeMar DeRozan was the other name I was looking for. I'll take my chances with the Lakers playing some damn defense. I'll take my chances with Anthony Davis being your pillar on defense. And now all of a sudden, guys like Max Christie and Gabe Vincent and Rui Hachimura, there was Cam Reddish. There were some guys that played yesterday. It was like, hey, I dig this. I'm okay with that. And if they lost that game yesterday, they would have blown it at the end because they really had control of the game. It felt like the entire time. One stretch in the second quarter, you could say that they struggled a little bit. But after that, they had the lead literally the entire game. That's refreshing. I mean, it really is. That's a little bit refreshing to see a team that all of a sudden is like, well, we'll get stops, and then we'll figure out what happens on offense. You get stops in the league, you're going to be in a lot of games. Lakers have been able to do that against two, I would say, quality opponents. Memphis is definitely a quality opponent. I'm not sold on the Sacramento Kings. I don't like their DNA. I don't like how everything is basically based on offense. So I don't really care personally for the Kings, but the Lakers have had their struggles against the Kings. Lakers have had their struggles on the road. The Lakers have had their struggles in Sacramento. It's a good win last night. And tomorrow they got a chance to potentially, I said I'll take a split in Sacramento. Well, of course, you're going to get greedy if you get the first one. They got a chance to kind of sweep the series against Sacramento. What a kind of a breath of fresh air, I think, for JJ Redick as well. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Last night, listening to him in the post-game presser, he looked much more comfortable. He looked much more, hey, I think the guys are listening to me again. He looked much more, he didn't have to get up there and grab a mic and justify to a Laker fan base and a brand that's one of the most popular brands in the world and a fan base that is always unrealistic of what their expectations are. He didn't have to justify anything. We played defense. We were solid. We did it on the other end. Had a lot of guys give effort. You could have 7, 8 different guys contributed, and you walked away with a win on the road. So I'm sure for him, he can breathe for a moment. It feels like for him, not my perspective, not your, for him, hey, maybe the train is getting back on the tracks again. And the way that the Lakers played through those first 14 games of the season, there's a little bit of a reflection of that. And if people want to say, oh, it's just a 2-game winning streak, that's fine. You could do that. If people want to look at it and say, this is fool's gold, that's okay too. But I'm not here to predict to you what the next month is going to look like. What I'm here to tell you is they played shitty basketball for a long stretch. And for the first time now, really since the first 14 games of the season, you could look at the Lakers and say there's a little bit of an identity. They played good enough basketball to win, and they got 2 W's against, one quality team and one average team in Sacramento, but on the road. There was a Laker fan last night, so I'm doing the post game. I thought his comment was pretty funny. He said something to the effect, here we go again, Al. False hope. This team gets me excited, and then just when I think, hey, maybe things are turning around, they go back to normal. Listen, I think it's funny because I know exactly where you're coming from, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't have much negative to say about the Lakers today. I don't. When there's a lot of, there's been a lot of times, whether I'm doing my show here or after the game, there have definitely been times it's like, well, what do you want me to say positively about them? I'm not going to bullshit. I'm going to tell you guys how I feel. But I just thought it was funny. It's like there also are a lot of Laker fans that, they just want to put their foot barely in the water. It's like, yeah, but you can feel the water. It's not too hot. You're okay. They're like, no, you just never know. The temperature is going to go up. But I don't blame Laker fans for doing that. All right, let me look at some of your guys' comments here. And then there actually, let me do one more thing here real quick. I was looking at the schedule, so I was kind of jumping ahead a little bit. So Lakers now sitting at, with these 2 wins, they're at 15-12. Looking at the schedule, kind of have a little stretch here where they could potentially do some damage. So let me tell you guys how. I'm not telling you that it's a cakewalk or anything like that. At Sacramento again tomorrow, I think that's a 50-50 game. If Sacramento walks in and, they make their adjustments and decide if they play their style of basketball, then Sacramento probably wins that game. But if the Lakers can muddy the water like they did, keep it low scoring, I mean, To see Sacramento score 100 points in a game, that ain't easy. And to see Memphis the game before, I know they ended up with 110, but they got a lot of those points towards the end. We'll see who dictates the style. But at Sacramento Mall, then you got a game against the Pistons at home. You should 100% win that game. That's on Monday. Then you're at Golden State. Okay, maybe flip the coin on that one, but I will tell you the Warriors have not been playing good basketball as of late. You got Sacramento again at home. You got Cleveland, which will be a tough game, but at home. And Portland and Atlanta at home. So there's some games here. Can you go in that stretch? How many games is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Am I asking for too much to go 5-2? Probably. But if you went 5-2, that'd be damn impressive. If you went 4-3, all right, when the dust settles, you're 4 games over 500. All right, let's take a look at some of your comments here and keep the show going here. Let's see what we got. Driving in New York City, but I'm here. Look at Odell. I appreciate you, Odell. All right, let's just see what they are here. They're just above average. That's what they are. Yeah. I was talking about that yesterday when, what was I talking about yesterday? When Rick Bucher was breaking down on, man, Rick Bucher broke it down in like a minute and a half. He's like, they're an average team. They will be an average team. Hey, listen, it's going to be up to, obviously, 100%. It's going to be up to the rest of this roster, at least from a Laker perspective, from a front office perspective, to improve it. Nobody's telling you that they're going to go all of a sudden win an NBA championship or anything like that. LeBron is watching this show and taking some basketball knowledge to win every season game, regular season game. Hey, I've asked this from LeBron. This is the one thing that I've said. The one thing that I've said about LeBron at this stage of his career, you got to rely on your other players. Nobody's looking for hero ball. Nobody wants to watch hero ball. Nobody needs to see, the shot clock, you dribbling the ball for 15 seconds, and then you either take a bad shot or you pass it to somebody when the shot clock is running out and they take a bad shot. You just can't play ball that way. And he's not the same guy. I think we all understand this, right? 5-6 turnovers a night. A lot of times he's not shooting, over 50% from the field, especially in this stretch. Hell, the guy had to take 7-8 days off, he said, for a mental break, a physical break. He's 39. He's about to turn 40. So I think for me, when I'm watching LeBron, I don't want him to play the same way he's played in the past. I do think he needs to adjust his game. I do think he needs to rely on other players on this squad and obviously run everything through Anthony Davis. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of this. Feels like a turning point, but I don't blame you. Don't hold your breath. I genuinely do not blame you. Got some people on here. 42 wins is what they are. Sacktown is no defense, lacks energy. Lakers' energy often dies if they have bad offense. AD was out of his mind. Now let's repeat that. I don't know if AD was out of his mind. I think AD is dealing with something. He wasn't out of his mind on offense. He was out of his mind on defense and rebounding. Damn. That guy, his stat line was 21 points, 20 rebounds, 6 block shots, and 3 steals. What the F? Do you guys know how brilliant that stat line is? Do you guys understand how uncommon that is in the NBA? A 20-20 with 6 blocks and 3 steals. And he didn't play well on offense. I thought after the first quarter, he 100% kind of slowed down offensively and didn't look like he was in his the player that he needed to be. All right. I'm going to skip gears here for a quick second. Can I just say this real quick on LeBron? Let me do LeBron, and then I'm going to do Magic. Then we'll do Bobby Portis, and then I got some other stuff. What I need you guys to do at some point, I need somebody to say, hey, Al, solid work, man. Why don't you have a sip of your coffee? Why don't you have your sip of your coffee? By the way, I'm back in studio. Got to be honest with everybody. Really nice to be back in studio. Kind of been running around, been a little bit all over the place, back and forth, LA, San Diego, but back in studio, and it feels good to be. I got my own coffee, my own coffee machine in here. Get that brew going when I get in here. It's a good place to be. Good place to be. Okay, real quick on LeBron. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I I don't think this is going to happen again. I think what LeBron is doing, 22nd year in the league, and I'm not here to kiss his ass, but I am here to give him some credit for what he's accomplished. LeBron James achieves another NBA record in Lakers win over the Kings. All right. That's interesting. That's right. This is where he started his career, was in Sacramento. He passed Kareem for the most minutes logged in the regular season, breaking the previous record of 57,446 minutes of play. Here's basically what's been happening over the last 2 years. I feel like once every 10 games, somebody's putting up a stat up there and say, hey, Bron just passed this Hall of Famer for whatever it is. Assists. Of course, he took over points with Kareem. Now he's taken over minutes again. Now, this isn't total minutes. If it was total minutes, he passed Kareem a long time ago, if you include the playoff minutes. But this is just regular season minutes. I was thinking about this. I'm like, will we ever have another player in the league that plays 20 plus years? I know it will happen, but I don't know. I was looking at some stats this morning. Here are all the stats that LeBron holds or is, somewhere around there. This was coming into this season. Most points, most consecutive games scoring, most turnovers, most minutes played, second most field goals made. He might have passed that. I can't remember. Most field goals missed, most field goals attempted, second most free throws made, third most 2-point field goals made, third most games played. That obviously got passed. Or actually, that one has not got passed. The point that I'm trying to make is, think of today's NBA and think of how probably one of the main issues the NBA has today is your stars aren't always playing. You got the load management issues. The game's just not the way it was before. And guys, you're almost not rewarded to play 82 games or try to play 82 games. You kind of just take your money, and if winning happens, cool. And if it doesn't, it's like, all right, it's all good. I got 150 mil sitting in the bank. I don't think there's any place. If I told you there's a player that's going to play 20 years in this league, that's in the league right now, that's one of the youngsters, it ain't going to be Luka. It's not going to be Nikola Jokic. It's not going to be any of these young players that are kind of the bigger Chet or Victor Wembanyama. These guys, you always worry about potential injuries. I don't think Anthony Edwards is going to be a guy we're sitting and saying, man, this guy was in the league for 20 years. The only guys that I could actually think of, and that's why I think a lot of what LeBron is doing right now and breaking these records, they're probably going to stand forever. If he broke a record and he played 22 years to get to that record, I don't think there's going to be too many people that are toe-to-toe with LeBron in 10 years or 15 years. The only guys that I could think of in today's NBA that are young, superstars, in great shape, have the body type where you feel like they can be in the league for a long time. The only two that I could think of, and I know there's others, but these are just the ones I thought off the top of my head. I was thinking Shea. I was thinking Tatum. That's it. I don't think any of these other guys, some of these other players look like they're already out of shape, and they're not even 30 yet. So what are they going to look like when they're 35? Shea and Tatum were the only two players that kind of came to my mind. I'm like, these are guys that have been really good since they stepped into the league. They've been putting up stats. They look like they take great care of their body. They're also not bruisers down low where you feel like there's, a ton of injuries. So we'll see what happens. But the records that this guy is the records he's breaking today, there's a very good chance no one's ever going to break these records again. So that part to me is a little bit interesting. If you guys have, any other players that are out there, this is a great example. Luka, Embiid, Zion, like think of these players. Luka doesn't look like he's in shape. Embiid and Zion obviously can't stay on the court. It's just a completely different league. And like I said, you literally, you don't, it doesn't feel like you get praised or incentivized to go out there and play the game the way some of these other guys used to play the game and how consistent that they were out there. That's an interesting one. Greek freak. All right, maybe Giannis. Yeah, that's somebody that certainly takes care of his body and everything else. All right, let's keep things moving here. Here's my question to Laker fans. What's your guys' thoughts on Magic Johnson? What's everybody's thoughts on Magic? I did a video, yes. I did a separate video. So when I was done with my show, I went out, go for a walk, and I did not know Magic was going to be on Fox Sports. He was on the show called Speak with Joy Taylor, Keyshawn Johnson, and Paul Pierce. Didn't know he was going to be on there with them. And I listened to the entire interview. It was about a half hour. And he said a lot of, interesting things. Interesting conversations came up. There was some chatter, of course, about the Lakers and kind of their current situation. And Magic was asked a question from Paul Pierce. And the question, if I'm correct here, but the question was something to the effect of, can the Lakers turn it around? And Magic, very blunt, he's like, no, not with this roster. They got to go out and they got to make moves. And, he talked about how it's going to be important for Rob Pelinka and the front office to find a way to, like I said, to go improve the roster. So I just thought it was a good conversation, and I agreed with Magic on his take on the Lakers. I agree. This roster is not good enough. I agree. There aren't role players that you can depend on a night-in, night-out basis. Gabe Vincent gave the Lakers 12. Gabe Vincent, if he plays the way he has, he gave 12 last night. If he plays the way he has since he's been a Laker, he should have 0 tomorrow. That's how much I don't know from each one of these role players on any given night. So I start reading the comments. And, I start looking at what people think of the video and their reaction to, obviously what Magic said and everything else. Am I right or wrong on this? I feel like there's a lot of Laker fans that have some hate towards Magic. For me, it's tough to have hate towards Magic. First off, I've interacted with Magic on a few different occasions, and I just got tremendous amount of respect for this guy. I have a lot of respect for him. So even off the court, I have respect for him, how he treats people, how he talks to people, his memory of interactions that you might have had with him. And it's Magic Johnson. It's like, why would he remember this? Whatever the case is. But if I put that to the side, I don't really have a negative connotation towards Magic. And all the comments, as a member of the front office, Magic was awful. Okay, here's another one. You also need to remember Magic traded away Zubats for Mike Muscala, signed Lonzo instead of Tatum. He was a terrible executive. Basically, people are downplaying what he said in that interview that he had. All right, let me get another one. Let's see what else we got here. Interesting, Magic doesn't have the same mentality about winning championships when he drafted Lonzo over Tatum. Keeps going on. Magic was simply an awful executive, just like he was a garbage coach. He runs his mouth. The guy kind of just goes on. He's a joke. Just goes on to it. I was like, damn, okay. I guess I didn't realize that Laker fans were so opinionated on Magic Johnson. Magic had the chance to draft Tatum, but he went with Ball. Goes on. What was kind of funny to me is all these Laker fans that were defending what Magic said. What did Magic say that wasn't accurate? Magic's asked the question, can this Lakers team turn it around? He says, no, not this roster. They got to make changes. I would imagine that a lot of people who've been following the Lakers, that doesn't sound like an outlandish comment. That sounds like, yeah, that's a pretty fair take from Magic Johnson to look at this roster, like we've all looked at this roster, watch these games and say, if your goal is to win an NBA championship, that ain't it. I think that's pretty fair. It just was interesting to me how quick, I couldn't even tell. Are people coming to the defense of the Lakers front office? Are they coming to the defense of the roster? Or do they just not want to hear it from Magic? And I think at the end of the day, that's what it was more than anything else. I think people just didn't like that it was coming from Magic. Anyways, that one kind of surprised me a little bit, just because I do feel that he was right. What he was saying was accurate. What he was saying is, I think how a lot of people do feel about the Lakers. But at the same time, because it was Magic saying it, they didn't like it. Listen, was Magic great as an executive? Um, no, we're not going to remember Magic as, when I think of Magic Johnson, I'm not going to remember Magic as when he was president of basketball operations for the Lakers. I don't want to think of him from that. I'm going to think of him in his days in the Showtime era, winning 5 NBA championships, getting to 9 NBA finals, being a key figure of changing the NBA, the rivalry with Bird and the Celtics. That's how I'm going to think of Magic Johnson. I'm also going to think of Magic as just a winner. Feels like everywhere he goes, they win, whether it's his ownership stake in how many different teams in how many different leagues. The man wins wherever he goes. That was not, I think it's easy to look at, like, let me use as an example, the Zubats Mike Muscala, just an awful trade. The drafting Lonzo, I mean, if I got to be honest with everybody, bad drafts happen all the time. And I think this one only got more coverage because over these last couple of weeks, Tatum saying he wanted to be a Laker, he was a Kobe fan, and then Magic coming out and trying to defend it. So I think maybe it got a little bit further because of all that stuff. All right, let's see some of your comments here. Damn, all these Laker fans turning on Magic while glazing over LeBron James is crazy. No. If you said churning on Magic, but I don't think glazing over LeBron. I think Laker fans are actually very, very critical of LeBron. Of all the players that represent the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron 100%. I think of all the front office, I think of the coaching staff, I think ownership, all that stuff. LeBron gets his fair share of whether hate from Laker fans or, man, we just want to move on or whatever the case is. I think there's a respect level to LeBron, but I think a lot of Laker fans are also remarkably honest about LeBron. And I think you could just watch some of my episodes in the past and you would see that, or just after a Lakers game, no matter what happens, if the Lakers lose, instantly it's like, well, LeBron did this. I find myself, by the way, I find myself doing that. All right, let's see what else we have here. Magic also got Kuz in the draft, and Kuz has as many rings as Tatum and more rings than Fox, etc. Yeah, but you can't. That's not the way to compare players, right? Robert Horry has, what does he have? 7 rings. Doesn't mean he's better than Jordan because he's up 1. You know what I mean? That's not the way to compare it. Kuz is a role player. That's what Kuz is. I'm not starting a franchise. When Kuz went and signed that contract with the Washington Wizards, or, got his, what was it, extension, or I think it was extension that he signed with the Wizards. And then they went and got Jordan Poole. I'm like, yeah, that franchise is trash. That franchise is going to go nowhere. I swear I'm not kidding. This is how crazy I am. If you told me, if I was a consultant for the Washington Wizards and I was making the amount of money that their GM and their president of basketball operations, and I guarantee you I can pick 5 of you guys on this channel, and if we said, let's go run the Washington Wizards organization, we would not be giving that type of money to Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma and saying, these are the pillars of our franchise. Common sense. So anyways, to go to that point that you were making, I don't think that's going to be the case. All right. By the way, I see people doing this, the Robert Horry stuff. I did see that. He is a nominee for a Hall of Famer. Players like that you got to have when you win chips. I want you guys to know something. I'm terrible at this Hall of Fame criteria and all that stuff. It's nothing that it's nothing I really paid too close attention to. There's people that would do such a better job of saying, here's why somebody should be in, here's why somebody shouldn't be in. But I will tell you, one of the most clutch players in the history of the NBA is Robert Horry. One of the clutch players in the NBA is Robert Horry. This guy would hit big shot after big shot. And when would he do it? He wouldn't do it in the regular season. He'd probably do it in the regular season. He'd do it in big-time moments, buzzer beaters against the Sacramento Kings, big shots when he was with the San Antonio Spurs, big shots when he was with the Houston Rockets, and that's why they call him Big Shot. the guy was incredible. But I'm not good at Hall of Fame criteria or any of that stuff, so I don't want to be the one to try to determine that. But I love that he's getting his love. Okay, let's keep things moving here. I still got a lot more things that I want to get into. Did you guys see this? Bobby Portis. So after the Bucks won and by the way, if I'm a day late on this or 2 days late, I apologize, but I just saw this last night, this morning, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to talk about it. So Milwaukee won the NBA Cup Tuesday, a few days ago. So there's some quotes that came out of there. And I remember I mentioned on Wednesday when I did the show, I said, hey, the Bucks are learning from the Lakers and have decided, they're not going to go have a champagne shower for winning this in-season tournament. They are going to kind of make this a lot more mellow. Hey, this was a cool barometer for us. We beat a solid OKC team. They went 7-0 to win the NBA Cup. We're not even at the halfway point of the season. They started off the year, I think, 2-8. Is Doc Rivers the right coach? Was Dame the right trade? There's been a lot of questions around the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Bucks clearly treated this much different than the Lakers. Lakers, they won it last year. It's the first time that they've won, or it was the first NBA Cup that they had. And the Lakers treated it, there was champagne popping. There was a true, real celebration. And then they cratered right after the NBA Cup and went 3-10. So I think there was a lot of bad taste, at least in my mouth. Bobby Portis, after they won, I think was basically being asked the question to compare the Bucks to the Lakers. And, if there's only been two of these, here's what Bobby Portis had to say. He said, we're not Hollywood. He was talking to The Athletic. We have hardworking guys, selfless, who give themselves up for the betterment of the team. It's not about the points you score. It's all about winning, being connected. Our group is different from their group. Literally talking about the Lakers. We're just different in that regard of selfless guys that give themselves up. You can't really compare the two teams. Not at all. Damn. Okay. All right. Goes on to say, NBA puts a big tournament in front of you. You go win. It's as simple as that. Talked about how it's part of the gig. Okay. I did not know that Bobby Portis felt a certain way about the Lakers. Let me read part of that quote again. Our group is different from their group. We're just different in that regard of selfless guys that give themselves up. You can't compare the two teams, not at all. I know Darvin Ham is obviously there. He's part of assistant coach. Taurean Prince, who was part of the Lakers last year, is also there as well. Maybe there's a little a bitterment Bobby Portis has about the Lakers because he's got two guys that are representing the Bucks that used to be with the Lakers. Clearly one coach that was dismissed. He was fired, and maybe he's just protecting his guys. But what the hell is he talking about? This isn't Boston that won. If it was Boston, if it was the Celtics that had that same sentiment, I would say I got nothing. If it was the Boston Celtics that won the in-season tournament and it was Jason Tatum saying, guys, you can't compare the two franchises. Are you guys watching us play on a night-in, night-out basis? Are you guys seeing what we're doing? By the way, we're also the defending NBA champions. It's Milwaukee. Milwaukee's 14-11. I don't know why Bobby Portis is making it sound like, the Milwaukee Bucks are this unbelievable franchise right now. Maybe they become a much better team as the season progresses. I know they've won 8 of their last 10 games, but even last year, what did Milwaukee do once the playoffs started? This isn't a team that, I know they won the championship a couple years ago, but Bobby Portis is making it sound like the Milwaukee Bucks have done unbelievable things. Bobby, relax there. You're not the Boston Celtics. Listen, I respect Bobby Portis's game. I thought when Dame went to Milwaukee, I was like, damn, okay, they got that's a squad. Hasn't worked out so far. It doesn't mean that it won't. It also doesn't mean that it will. But I just thought that was interesting that Bobby Portis was that kind of lasered on the Lakers. And it's like, yeah, we're not like them. All right. I don't know what the hell that means. I think the Bucks got to go accomplish something before they're talking shit about the Lakers. They got the same record. Literally, it's the same record. It's both of these squads look the exact same. Now, maybe he's taking shots at individual players for the Lakers. Maybe he's taking shots at the selfless part of it. Maybe that's a shot indirectly at LeBron. You know, I don't know how these players communicate what's being talked about behind the scenes. And like I said, I don't mind Portis's play. Somebody's got a comment here that I'll read in just a second, but it just felt like, wait, why is Bobby Portis coming at the Lakers when the question really just was, hey, this is what happened to the Lakers after they won the in-season tournament. Do you guys have any fear that this would happen to you guys? No, we're not like them. Those bums. All right, let me get a couple of these in here. Brandon says, Lakers need a Bobby Portis. What I mean is they need guys that are edgy. Everyone looks nervous playing for the Lakers except Reeves. Anxiety all-time high, purple and gold. Bobby Portis is a good player. That guy's made a great name for himself in the league. He has. I just don't know his angle. I guess that's my point. I guess my point at the end of the day, I'm not trying to break down Bobby Portis's game. I do agree a player like that would be great for the Lakers. What I'm more trying to talk about is the shots fired at the Lakers when it didn't really feel like there needed to be shots fired at the Lakers. All right, let's look at a couple more of these comments here. Questionable. Bucks got a questionable team. Yeah, again, I'm not here trying to break down. I'm not here trying to break down the Bucks, but again, they're not the Boston Celtics. There's one squad that can talk shit in the NBA. It's Boston. That's the only team in the NBA that can walk around with their chest out and say, yeah, what have you guys done? Because last I checked, we're the NBA champs and we're the favorites to win it again. And we're built for, a few years. If it's not Boston, there really is nobody else that I think that can run their mouth in the league. To be honest with you, especially the Bucks. The Bucks got all these stars. They've got great role players. They got everything that they need, and they've struggled. They're only 14-11. All right, let's keep moving here. I saw something about Torian. I think this is an issue. They got Torian and Ham talking trash in their locker room about the Lakers. Could be that. Honestly, it could very easily be we got two players that are on this team that last year represented that squad. They're now with us, and we know the inside work of how that team was ran or the inside work of that organization. All right, I got a couple things here on the NBA that I want to get into. Ray, I disagree, my brother. Can't be objective about the Celtics on this channel, Slee. You could say F Boston as much as you want. That's all good. Nothing wrong with that. But I got to give credit where credit's due. That's the class of the NBA right now. Everything is running through Boston. And 2 years ago, it was running through the Denver Nuggets. And 3 years ago, it was running through the Milwaukee Bucks. But right now, today, the league is running through Boston. Everybody is chasing the Celtics, and I don't care what team that you are. You could be OKC, you could be Dallas, you could be the Lakers, you could be Miami, you could be Cleveland, you could be New York. You pick any top teams in the NBA. Everyone is chasing one squad, which is the Boston Celtics. Speaking of which, I had some NBA news that I was going to put out here. Driving in this morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. on the road, driving the mean streets of San Diego. Sun just coming up. It's beautiful. It's actually really, really nice. So I'm driving in, and a lot of times, I'll kind of switch a couple different sports channels. I was listening to Frank Isola and Brian Scalabrini do a show on NBA Sirius XM radio. So I'm listening to the show, and they're going to give a perspective of more what's going on around the NBA. And I kind of listen. Okay, is there anything I could take away that I could potentially bring on the show here? So I'm listening to it. I'm looking at some of the NBA news, or they're having a conversation about the NBA. Did you guys know this? That the Boston Celtics and the Chicago Bulls last night broke a record for most threes taken in a game. Guess how many? I'm going to let you guys. This actually will kind of be a fun exercise if you guys know. How many threes do you guys think the Celtics and the Bulls took combined last night? How many threes do you think they took? Because when I heard them say it, when I was listening to their show, I was like, okay, they clearly said something wrong. because they didn't take that many threes. How many threes? For all the bitching and complaining that's going on in the NBA, Boston's actually a lot to blame with this as well because they're just jacking up. They're going to shatter the record of most threes taken in a season. How many threes do you think the Celtics and the Bulls took last night in total? I'm going to read a couple of these. A lot of people at 100. Some people got 65 here. Somebody's got 90. Guys, they took 108 threes last night combined. They broke a record for most threes ever taken in a game, 108 threes. We got a lot of people here on here over 100. 100 for, when I heard them say this in my mind, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? The Boston Celtics last night took 56 threes, and the Chicago Bulls took 52 threes. I swear on my life, I don't know who the Chicago Bulls have that's even a sharp shooter from three. I don't know. And if you know, you can go ahead and tell me. But you know, sometimes you look at, okay, all right, Boston, you got Derek Wright. That's a really good three-point shooter. Porzingis can spread the floor. He can hit threes. Al Horford can hit threes. Drew Holiday can hit threes. I haven't even mentioned Tatum and Brown yet, whether that's the strength of their game or not. At least I can list off players that can hit threes. Who the hell does Chicago have to justify taking 52 three-pointers? Okay. Not only did those two teams break the record of most threes ever taken at 108, you know what else they did? They tied the record for most three-point misses at 75. There was a game last night in the NBA where a squad took 108 threes, or both teams, and there was also a game last night where they missed 75 three-pointers. Imagine you paid your hard, good money last night to go watch the Celtics and the Bulls, and you watched 75 misses from the three-point line. My God, what is the game plan in the NBA? By the way, Boston lost that game. They shot 25% from three. They went 14 of 56. Chicago hit 36% of their three-pointers. I don't even know what to tell you. Those are such crazy stats to me. To think that's kind of the league. I think I could shoot in the NBA. Zach LaVine. Okay, there you go. LaVine made three. By the way, when I think of Zach LaVine, definitely don't think of a three-point shooter. Kobe White. I don't know how many he made. Okay, there's Kobe White. If I'm the opposing team and Zach LaVine is taking 12, 13 threes, I'm like, okay, we're in good shape tonight. we're in good shape tonight. Okay, a couple other things in the NBA. Stern made the call. What does it say? Stern made the call. Oh, you don't like threes? Here you go. Well, listen, I know there's been, a ton of negative press around the league, and I've said this before. The perception is everything in anything you do. If the perception of you as an individual, if it's something you want to change, but just having a perception on you, negative or positive, that sticks to you. And the perception right now around the league is this is not a creative game. This is a lazy game. There are a lot of players that are making unbelievable amounts of money. The league is making unbelievable amounts of money, but the product is declining right in front of our eyes. And then you have a stat like that. Yeah, you would think that's an all-star game or something. 108 threes between those two teams. Okay, another NBA story I want to get into real quick that I saw. Again, something else when I was walking in. I actually saw this last night, but I didn't really pay too close attention to it. Memphis played the Golden State Warriors last night. Do you know Steph Curry didn't hit a shot? Steph Curry took 7 shots last night. By the way, how is Steph Curry in a game only taking 7 shots? He was 0 for 7 from the field, 0 of 6 from the three-point line. Steph Curry did not make a field goal last night in a game against the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, I got another stat for you. Do you know that Golden State was down 57 points last night? That they lost the game by 51 points? I've been very critical of the Lakers, as you guys have as well. Lakers have had some really bad losses this year. Yeah, 41. That was against Miami a couple weeks ago. I think this happens probably more often in the league than we think. Lakers held Memphis to 110 points. Grizzlies weren't playing that well. Lakers, I thought, were playing phenomenal on the defensive side. Ja Morant last night had a total of, let me see his total points, had 9 points. Memphis still dropped 144. The Warriors lost an NBA game. At one point, they were down 57 against the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Curry didn't hit a shot. That's crazy stats for me. I always kind of look at, I try to see, all right, well, something must have happened. Or maybe they didn't have any of their guys played. No, they played. I mean, you go look at that stat, at least for the Warriors, Draymond, Kevon Looney, Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, Dennis Schroeder, obviously now a part of their team. Jonathan Kuminga played. They all played. Buddy Hield played. Pajimski, Brandon Pajimski played as well. They were down 57 with all their guys. All right, one other thing that I'm going to make notice here, and then I'm going to kind of switch gears. I want to talk a little bit about the NFL Thursday night game yesterday, and then I got the weekend recap, or the weekend preview, and then we'd call it a day. Last thing I'm just going to mention, so just to give everybody an idea, Lakers got the Kings coming up tomorrow, but in the standings, I was looking at it, 7th, 15, and 12. And if you're just paying attention to that, they are a half game behind the Clippers for number 5. So with everything that's happened to the Lakers, there's a lot of teams, bunched up. I think between the 11th spot and the 5th spot, there's a game and a half separating 6 teams. So even with everything that's kind of gone on with the Lakers, they're still right in the mix here. Okay, let's keep things moving. I do want to talk a little bit. I'm not going to talk too much about Thursday night football game yesterday, Chargers over the Broncos 34-27. I will just say this. How important is coaching? How important is coaching? Do you know that Brandon Staley was the coach of the Chargers? What was he there for? I want to say 3 years. He went 24-24, made the playoffs once. That one time that they made the playoffs, they had that just awful collapse against the Jaguars. If you guys remember that game against Jacksonville, here comes a real coach, Jim Harbaugh, a real coach that's had success in college, a coach that won a national championship at Michigan. He had success at other places. He was at Stanford. Hell, he was a coach here in San Diego at USD and turned that program around for when he was here. Had success with the 49ers when he was in the NFL. When you bring a real coach, changes everything. And the Chargers right now are 9-5. No, maybe 9-6. 9-6, actually. Them and Denver have the same record. They're a playoff team. They're going to be a tough out once they get to the playoffs. And you guys know my hatred towards the owner of the Los Angeles Chargers. They were showing him on the TV yesterday, Dean Spanos. Just a genuine piece of what. But my job is also to be a professional and give credit where credit's due. And he's a piece of shit. Let me get that part out of the way. It's a piece of shit. That team should still be here down in San Diego. But damn, I don't care what sport you are in. When you have the right coach, everything changes. I mean, even Denver last night, you're watching that game. Sean Payton, now the coach of, the Denver Broncos, been there for 2 years. He's got them back on track. Go look around the NBA. Ime Udoka goes to the Houston Rockets. Now, all of a sudden, the Rockets they're a top 4 team in the Western Conference. Coaching is everything. And there's a lot of other things that got to work as well. Of course, you need a good front office. You need ownership that buys into everything. But the Chargers basically made one move in the offseason. And they're a playoff team. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs, and it's all because of their head coach. That dude's an absolute stud. Okay, let's start the weekend preview here because I was looking here. This morning I was taking a quick look. You guys know what's going on here? You You guys know what's going on here over the next couple of days? I actually was shocked today. I didn't even realize this. Do you guys know tomorrow in the NFL on a Saturday, we got two, not just games on the schedule. We got two playoff games on the schedule. Texans 9-5 at KC 13-1. We got Steelers Ravens 1:30 kickoff on Fox. What? I didn't even know there were two games coming up tomorrow. We got two NFL games coming up tomorrow. And then on Sunday, I was looking through the schedule. I think the games of significance, the best game on Sunday is going to be the Eagles versus the Commanders, 12-2 versus 9-5. That game is in Washington, in D.C. Magic a part of that, about a part of that Commanders team. Not a surprise that they all of a sudden turn things around when you get the right ownership. That's the best game on Sunday. You got two games on Saturday, 4 playoff teams. And then Rams have a game against the Jets and control their own destiny. They can win a division. They can win the NFC West, and they could host a playoff game, but they got to take care of the Jets, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks. I don't know if they have to win the Jets game, but they should. I think if they just beat the Cardinals and the Seahawks, they're still in the driver's seat. But nonetheless, that's the NFL schedule. And then earlier today, this morning, before the show started, I'm sitting back and I'm telling myself, I'm like, when the hell does this college football, when does the playoffs start? I've been hearing about the playoffs now. I feel like 6 months ago, they released who's going to be in the college football bracket. Well, then I found out, starts tonight. ABC, ESPN, 5 o'clock, kickoff, the first ever 12-team playoff. Indiana, number 10 in the country, at number 7, Notre Dame, badass. And then tomorrow, as you get 2 NFL games, you also get SMU at Penn State. You also get Tennessee at Ohio State, and you get Clemson at Texas. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty damn good Friday, Saturday, and Sunday football. We'll get 1 playoff game today, and then, obviously 2 NFL games tomorrow, 3 college football games tomorrow, and then the whole Sunday slate. I was looking at the NBA schedule as well. Couple games going on tonight. Was the one game that I saw that I thought was of significance. I'm not going to really take a look more past today because Lakers got a game coming up tomorrow. Bucks Cavs coming up at 4:30 tonight. Thunder also take on the Heat, so you got a couple good games in the NBA as well. So really some kind of badass games everywhere you look. The one thing I did see in Major League Baseball to kind of wrap up the show here, I did see that the Mets were the first team to meet with Roki Sasaki, so something to keep in mind there. Mets take MLB's first known crack at Japanese star Roki Sasaki. This was first reported by SNY. So, obviously every single team out there that has an opportunity where Roki Sasaki has even just an ounce of interest, they're going to give their pitch to him. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. I don't know what to believe because I don't think anybody knows where he's going to go. And part of me actually thinks there's a part of me that says he's just going to end up with a team where we're like, that team, what? I didn't even know that team was in contention. I guess maybe no, not that big of a surprise. But the teams, the team that everybody just thinks first is the Dodgers. Padres have got a lot of publicity for him as well. And then, you got a number of other big market teams, predominantly out on the East Coast. And then the last thing that I'll mention here, just from a baseball perspective, looks like the Red Sox remain involved for Teoscar Hernandez. So that's the last one that I saw. So we'll see. I think there's still a lot of things that still have to develop in Major League Baseball. After Soto signed, after Max Fried signed with the Yankees, just recently there was a trade for Cody Bellinger. He went to the Yankees. It's actually been pretty quiet for Major League Baseball. Not as heavy packed as we thought it was going to be. I don't know how the rules work in baseball, but I'll tell you this: if there's something great about the NBA around free agency, within a week, it's kind of everybody has landed where they need to land. This stuff in Major League Baseball, it's like they got all this momentum and then it just dies. So we'll see how baseball, when the rest of these players are going to end up signing. All right, let me look at a couple Let me look at a couple comments here, and then we're going to call it a day. 20 degrees at kickoff tonight. You're not wrong about that. Today, Indy versus Notre Dame. I'm all ready to go for that. College football. Yep, playoff start today. NFL taking over Christmas, and NFL can do whatever it wants. And here's what's going to happen: we're all going to watch it. We're all going to watch it. They can literally do anything they want. All right, here's one here. Padres' future hangs in the balance with Roki. If they get him, they will be okay because they are broke and he is cost controlled if he goes elsewhere. Let me tell you something about my squad, about the Padres. They're in a tough spot. I'm reading a lot of articles. They might have to trade Dylan Cease just to kind of acquire as many assets as they can. I will say this, AJ Preller is a very creative GM. Last year, before the season started, he got Dylan Cease actually right when the Dodgers and the Padres were going to start in Korea. Ended up getting Luis Ariz. Obviously, the haul that he got back for Juan Soto. Their ace now is Michael King. So they got some work to do. You know what's really hurting teams like the Padres? They don't have regional TV deals. Remember that Diamond Sports Group and went into bankruptcy? That actually is affecting, I think, over half of the Major League Baseball teams that are out there. What's killing them is they don't have regional TV deals. The Boston Red Sox, the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers. There's teams out there, I think Toronto as well, that have some type of stake or ownership in their regional deals. And that's big time money, revenue that's coming in that they can go back and invest in the players, into their stadium, everything else. That portion is going to hurt the Lakers. I do agree on the Roki thing. If it's not Roki, they might be taking some steps back. All right, my people, thank you very much for being a part of the show today. Really, really solid week. Enjoy, as always, hanging out with you guys and trying to put up content. If you guys can subscribe to the channel, would appreciate that. Like, share. If there's anybody that you think would like the content, please let them know about it. Since I left 710 ESPN, I think there's still a number of people that just don't know where I am or what I'm doing. So any way you can help would be appreciated. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm back on tomorrow night after the Lakers take on 3 p.m. tip-off, so probably around 5:30 after the Lakers take on the Sacramento Kings. Just so you know, my schedule next week, I'm on Monday. I'll do the Sliwa show. I'll do the post-game show. Tuesday, Christmas Eve, nada. Wednesday, I'm thinking nada as well, but Thursday I'll post some stuff up, and then I'll have a show on Friday. All right, guys, have a great weekend. We will see you guys, if not tomorrow, on Monday morning. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.